Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest battle you will ever fight is not against your neighbor, not against your boss, not against society, and not even against the devil. The greatest battle you will ever fight is the battle against yourself. The greatest battle is within yourself, because every limitation, every excuse, every weakness, and every fear that has ever held you back does not live in the world outside, but in the secret chambers of your own mind and heart. Life's challenges are real, circumstances can be harsh, and people can be unfair, but none of those have the power to control you unless you surrender to them through your own inner struggles. The truth is that no enemy on the outside can defeat you unless the enemy on the inside has already won. The fight is not about who criticizes you, who rejects you, or who stands in your way, but about whether you have conquered your own doubts, managed your own emotions, disciplined your own actions, and taken control of your own mindset. Every person is born with potential far greater than their present reality, yet potential is like a treasure buried beneath layers of fear, insecurity, laziness, and self-doubt. You may carry within you dreams that can change your future, ideas that can impact generations, and visions that can create transformation. But until you win the battle inside, those dreams will remain locked away. The mind can either be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. If your thoughts are full of doubt, you will see every challenge as impossible. If your heart is full of fear, you will shrink back from opportunities that could lift you higher. If your will is weak, you will settle for comfort instead of pushing through the pain required for growth. Conquering yourself means learning to silence the voices that tell you you can't, and training yourself to rise, even when everything around you tells you to quit. This inner battle shows itself in small daily choices. It is the struggle to wake up early when your body says stay in bed. It is the decision to keep studying when your mind tells you it is enough. It is the courage to speak up when fear tells you to stay silent. It is the discipline to save money when desire urges you to spend it all. It is the will to forgive when anger demands revenge. These choices are not small at all because they shape who you become. Winning them consistently builds strength, character, and resilience, while losing them repeatedly weakens your capacity to reach your potential. The inner battle is also the most deceptive because it does not announce itself with loud noises. It whispers. It creeps in through thoughts like, maybe tomorrow, maybe I am not good enough, or maybe it is too late. It convinces you that you are waiting for the right time, when in reality you are surrendering to procrastination. It tells you that you must be perfect before you begin, when in truth perfection only comes through beginning. The person who does not recognize this subtle enemy ends up blaming others, blaming life, or blaming luck without realizing that the chains are not outside, but inside. To conquer yourself is to take responsibility for your life in its fullest sense. It is to recognize that while you cannot control the winds, you can set the sails. While you cannot dictate the storms, you can decide how you will face them. It is to understand that the world will never give you permission to succeed. You must give it to yourself. The greatest battle is not about how strong the world is against you, but how strong you decide to be within yourself. When you win that war, every external obstacle loses its power because the victory inside guarantees the victory outside. Self-leadership is the foundation of success because before you can influence others, manage responsibilities, or achieve great accomplishments, you must first have the ability to lead yourself. Many people aspire to positions of authority, recognition, or influence, yet they overlook the simple truth that true leadership begins with personal discipline. Leading yourself means taking ownership of your thoughts, choices, and actions. It requires the strength to do what is right, not just what is easy, and the consistency to follow through on commitments, even when no one is watching. The measure of your success in life is not determined first by your ability to manage others, but by your ability to manage yourself. When you practice self-leadership, you establish standards for your own behavior that are higher than what the world requires. Instead of waiting for someone to remind you, push you, or force you, you create an internal compass that directs your actions. This kind of personal accountability builds trust, integrity, and confidence, because you become someone who can be relied upon. People who fail to lead themselves often struggle with procrastination, excuses, and inconsistency, which eventually erodes their credibility and limits their opportunities. But those who learn to govern themselves stand out because they prove that they can be trusted with greater responsibilities. Self-leadership also involves mastering the art of decision-making. Life presents countless distractions, temptations, and pressures, and without inner discipline, you can easily drift away from your goals. Leading yourself means developing clarity about what matters most and saying no to what does not align with your purpose. It is about setting boundaries, creating habits, and choosing wisely where your energy and time are invested. Many people chase after success, but are derailed by poor decisions that come from a lack of self-control. The ability to say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you is one of the clearest signs of true leadership. Another dimension of self-leadership is emotional mastery. Success is not only about skill or talent, but also about the capacity to remain steady under pressure, to respond with wisdom in conflict, and to stay calm when others panic. A person who cannot control their emotions cannot lead themselves effectively, and if they cannot lead themselves, they cannot expect to lead others. Self-leadership teaches you how to channel your emotions productively, turning frustration into fuel, disappointment into lessons, and fear into courage. Self-leadership is also the key to unlocking potential. You may have talents, gifts, and abilities that remain dormant because they are waiting for discipline to bring them to life. A person who cannot lead themselves will waste opportunities, misuse resources, and abandon goals halfway. On the other hand, someone who has mastered the art of personal discipline can take even a small gift and multiply it into something remarkable. Success is not given to the most talented, but to the most disciplined. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve is the ability to lead oneself with focus, persistence, and determination. At the heart of self-leadership is consistency. Anyone can be motivated for a moment, but those who consistently show up, put in the work, and push through resistance are the ones who rise to the top. Success is built daily through habits, not through one-time inspiration. Leading yourself means making decisions today that your future self will thank you for. It is in the daily practice of discipline that great destinies are built. Without self-leadership, success is unstable, but with it, success becomes inevitable because the foundation is strong. Private decisions shape public destiny because the life you live in front of the world is simply a reflection of the choices you make when no one else can see you. It is in the quiet, hidden moments that character is formed, discipline is tested, and destiny is decided. People often imagine that success comes from a single big opportunity, a stroke of luck, or a dramatic public action. But in reality, greatness is built behind the scenes. The world only sees the results, but it rarely sees the hours of sacrifice, the nights of self-discipline, or the personal battles won in silence. Every great achievement is rooted in private victories that prepared the individual to handle the public stage. When you decide in private to wake up early and work when others are sleeping, you are shaping the future that others will one day admire. When you make the choice to study, to practice, to save, or to resist temptation, you are building a foundation that will sustain you in the spotlight. On the other hand, when you compromise in secret, when you cut corners where no one can see, when you surrender to laziness or indulgence, you are also shaping your future, but in a destructive way. The consequences of private decisions always show up eventually, because destiny is never built overnight but over time, piece by piece, choice by choice. The strength of a person's destiny depends on the integrity of their private life. Someone who tries to impress in public but neglects private discipline will eventually collapse under the weight of exposure. This is why many talented individuals rise quickly but fall just as fast. They ignored the importance of small, private decisions that build stability. Success without integrity is temporary, but success built on private discipline is unshakable. What you do when no one is watching determines whether you can sustain what people applaud when they are watching. Consider the difference between preparation and performance. Preparation is private, performance is public. The athlete who disciplines their body in hidden training sessions will display strength on the field. The speaker who spends hours studying and practicing in silence will speak with authority in front of thousands. The entrepreneur who manages their money wisely in secret will appear successful when the business grows. In each case, the world sees the performance, but the real power came from private preparation. The truth is simple: your destiny is being shaped long before the world recognizes it. Private decisions also test authenticity. It is easy to look disciplined in front of people, to speak well of values, and to act committed when eyes are on you. But the real test of who you are is what you choose in the absence of recognition. If you can stay faithful to your values when no one is there to applaud, then you are truly aligned with your purpose. Private faithfulness builds public credibility, and credibility is the currency of destiny. The path to greatness requires the courage to make difficult decisions in private, where the rewards are not immediate, and where no one else may understand. Choosing to work hard instead of wasting time, choosing to resist shortcuts, choosing to invest in growth rather than temporary pleasure. These are the choices that seem invisible at the moment, but compound into a future of success. Destiny is not shaped by what you intend to do, but by what you consistently choose to do when no one else can see you. The world eventually rewards in public what you consistently practice in private, and your destiny rises or falls on the foundation of those hidden decisions. Discipline unlocks potential, because no matter how much talent, intelligence, or natural ability a person has, without discipline those gifts remain dormant and unused. Potential is like raw gold buried deep within the ground. It carries immense value, but it takes effort, consistency, and refinement to bring it out. Discipline is the tool that digs, polishes, and shapes that potential into something meaningful. Many people dream of greatness, but dreams without discipline remain fantasies. It is discipline that takes a vision from imagination to reality, transforming hidden ability into tangible results. Potential on its own is never enough. A person may have the ability to sing beautifully, but without disciplined practice, their voice will never reach its fullest strength. Another may have a mind sharp enough to create solutions for the world's problems, but without the discipline to study, plan, and execute, those ideas will remain locked inside. History is filled with people who were talented but wasted their lives because they lacked self-control. And it is also filled with people of average ability who achieved extraordinary things simply because they mastered the habit of discipline. Potential gives you possibility, but discipline gives you progress. Discipline requires sacrifice, and sacrifice is the price of success. It means saying no to temporary pleasures in order to say yes to long-term rewards. It is choosing to study while others are distracted, to save money while others spend recklessly, to train while others relax, and to remain focused when others chase after comfort. Each act of discipline may feel small in the moment, but together they build strength, character, and momentum that lead to greatness. Without discipline, potential withers away because it is left unattended, like a seed that is never watered or nurtured. Another reason discipline unlocks potential is that it creates consistency. Success is not built in one moment of effort, but in repeated actions over time. One workout does not make you fit, one day of studying does not make you wise, and one act of kindness does not make you a person of character. It is the daily repetition, the commitment to showing up again and again, that compounds into mastery. Discipline ensures that you keep pushing forward even when motivation fades, because motivation may inspire you for a day, but discipline sustains you for a lifetime. Potential only grows when it is exercised, and only discipline has the power to keep you exercising it consistently. Discipline also shapes the mind to endure challenges. Potential is tested in the face of resistance, and without the strength to persevere, many give up before they ever see results. Discipline trains you to keep going when the process feels slow, when progress is hidden, and when obstacles seem overwhelming. It gives you the mental toughness to overcome procrastination, distraction, and discouragement. With discipline, you do not wait for perfect conditions, because you understand that growth happens in the grind, not in the comfort zone. Your potential becomes limitless when your will is trained to stay steady in the storm. Every person carries within them the capacity for greatness. But greatness is not an accident. It is the product of choices, habits, and disciplines that unlock what is already inside. Potential is the promise, but discipline is the delivery. Where talent opens the door, discipline keeps it open. Where vision provides direction, discipline provides the steps. Where opportunity presents itself, discipline ensures readiness. Without discipline, potential remains an untapped possibility, but with discipline, it becomes a powerful reality that can achieve extraordinary impact. Excuses are the enemy of progress because they create a false sense of comfort that prevents you from moving forward. Every excuse is a justification for inaction, a way of convincing yourself that failure is acceptable or that success is impossible. While challenges are real and obstacles exist, excuses exaggerate them, magnify them, and transform them into reasons for giving up instead of opportunities to grow. The danger of excuses is that they are easy to make, but every excuse you allow into your life steals a piece of your potential. Progress requires responsibility, and excuses shift that responsibility away from yourself onto circumstances, other people, or fate. When you make excuses, you give away your power to change your situation. Excuses often disguise themselves as logic. They sound reasonable, such as, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, or I'll start tomorrow. Yet beneath the surface, they are nothing more than fear, doubt, or laziness wrapped in clever words. The truth is that no one ever has perfect conditions, unlimited time, or all the resources they think they need. Progress is achieved by those who start where they are, with what they have, and refuse to let excuses dictate their actions. Excuses may delay your effort for a day, a month, or even years, but the longer they remain, the more they rob you of opportunities that will never return. Every person has the same number of hours in a day, but the difference between those who succeed and those who stagnate is not the absence of obstacles, but the absence of excuses. Some people use their struggles as reasons to stop, while others use them as reasons to fight harder. History is full of examples of men and women who achieved greatness despite poverty, rejection, disability, or lack of support. Their progress came not because life was easy, but because they refused to excuse themselves from the responsibility of trying. Excuses close doors, but determination opens them. Excuses also weaken character because they teach you to settle for less than you are capable of. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce the habit of avoidance. You train your mind to choose comfort over challenge, and over time, this creates a life of mediocrity. On the other hand, when you reject excuses and face the hard truth, you build resilience, courage, and discipline. Excuses are the language of defeat, while responsibility is the language of progress. To advance in life, you must silence the voice of excuses and replace it with the voice of action. Another reason excuses are so dangerous is that they seem harmless in the moment. Telling yourself that you will start tomorrow feels small, but repeated often enough, tomorrow becomes next week, next month, and eventually never. Excuses compound over time, creating a cycle of regret. Progress demands urgency, and urgency dies when excuses are entertained. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes to regain momentum. Excuses create a prison without walls, keeping you stuck in the same place, even when the path forward is open. To eliminate excuses, you must take ownership of your life. Ownership means accepting that while you cannot control every circumstance, you can always control your response. It means choosing to see problems as challenges to solve rather than barriers that stop you. It means recognizing that progress will always require effort, sacrifice, and persistence, and no excuse can substitute for them. Excuses feel safe, but safety never produces growth. Progress requires courage, and courage is born the moment you stop explaining why you cannot and start showing how you can. Conquer within, conquer without means that the victories you win inside yourself determine the victories you experience in the world around you. Life's greatest challenges are not external but internal. Fear, doubt, insecurity, anger, and procrastination are enemies that live in the mind and heart. Until you overcome them, no achievement outside will last. External battles are simply reflections of internal strength, and the ability to conquer circumstances is born from the ability to master yourself. When you develop the discipline to govern your thoughts, the courage to silence fear, and the resilience to rise after failure, no obstacle in the outside world can stop you. Every external victory begins with an internal decision. A soldier may face a battlefield, but before he ever fights an enemy, he must fight the voice of fear inside him. An athlete may compete in front of thousands, but the real struggle happened in the early mornings when no one was watching and his body told him to quit. An entrepreneur may build a company, but the biggest battle was against self-doubt when the idea seemed impossible. The principle is clear. Once you conquer the war inside, the battles outside become easier. The problem is that many people focus all their energy on trying to change external conditions while ignoring the need for inner mastery. They want better opportunities, but are unwilling to discipline their habits. They want respect from others, but cannot control their own emotions. They want success, but remain enslaved by excuses and distractions. Without inner victory, external success becomes temporary because the foundation is weak. A person who wins wealth, but loses self-control will soon lose the wealth. A person who gains power, but never conquers pride, will destroy themselves with arrogance. Real progress is not about what you achieve, but about who you become. Conquering within requires honesty. It means looking in the mirror and acknowledging the weaknesses that hold you back. It means confronting fear instead of hiding behind it. It means admitting procrastination, excuses, or a lack of discipline, and then choosing to change. This inner confrontation is uncomfortable, but it is the path to freedom. When you refuse to fight the battle within, life will keep defeating you on the outside. The challenges you run from in your heart will appear again and again in your circumstances until you face them. The strength to conquer within comes from consistency. Small acts of self-mastery accumulate into great victories. Every time you resist the temptation to quit, you strengthen your resolve. Every time you control your words, instead of lashing out in anger, you build character. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you prepare yourself for greater challenges. These private victories may seem invisible, but they shape the inner strength that makes you unshakable in public battles. Progress is never first about the outside world, but always about the inner world. When you conquer yourself, you carry a power that no circumstance can take away. Challenges that once intimidated you become opportunities. Criticism that once discouraged you becomes fuel. Setbacks that once crushed you become lessons. This is why those who conquer within eventually rise above their peers. They are not easily shaken because the war inside has already been won. They no longer seek strength from outside validation, but draw it from inner mastery. To conquer without, you must first prove that you can conquer within, because the external world only reflects the condition of the internal world.